I think we should start on the CURFC catch-up. So we had 2 games this week. We'll start on the men's. A 16-10 loss to Durham. Yeah. So I mean, you weren't there at the game, but
no, I did watch it.
Oh, you did watch it?
Yeah, I did watch it. Yeah.
Oh, you were. Well, what do you make of the game?
Cardiff played really well, to be fair. I think there was a lot to be proud of if for any boys who were playing in that game, but also a lot of disappointing aspects as well. I think they could have made use a lot more of kicking for posts. I think for teams like Durham, like Exeter, Met, Loughborough, the ones who you know are going to be really strong up front, you've got to take the opportunities when they're handed to you in penalties, rather than just going for corners and trying to drive over the line or whatever. I think when you're not up to the stature of those other teams, you've just got to make use of getting the 3 points and keep the scoreboard ticking over. And Cardiff didn't do that, and they missed out big time, I think, really. Yeah,
well, I wasn't there for the game. I was there for the women's game, actually. It's funny the way we've synchronised that. That's worked out quite well. But yeah, obviously, they've a losing bonus point from the game. That's a positive. As you say, their pack, Durham, is pretty big, and Cardiff's is not in comparison to everybody else in the Bucks League. So do you think that was maybe their undoing in that game? Obviously, they had Harrison James coming back in at 10. That was a big...
Yeah, Harrison was incredible. I mean, he can kick from anywhere and land it any place he wants, really. And it baffles me more because he is so proficient from the tee and from hand. Cardiff just weren't making the most of that. So I'm all for trying to go for the corner and getting the 5 points or 7 points or whatever. But if it doesn't work and you're still winning the penalties, then go for points and restart, reload, and go again. But no, Harrison was brilliant. The whole forward pack were actually really good as well. Strong running. Billy Moxey was brilliant in defence. I think he probably made over 20 plus tackles. He was honestly top form. Ollie Sterling, obviously, Gwilym Evans, just everyone really did their roles right. Like, no one played particularly poorly. It was just the game management, I think, that let Cardiff down. And as well, I mean, Durham's try was due to a defensive error in the back line, and they just ran around and scored. So there were errors that Cardiff could have prevented themselves, but you can't take anything away from how they performed. And if for a team like Durham to cut it down to a 6-point game and to only allow Durham to score 16 is still quite impressive. And
that's a big improvement. I was just looking on the corresponding fixture up at Durham, and that was 50-21.
Yeah.
So I mean, you look at that and the gap that's closed there, and the way we said that they performed admirably and they made some mistakes in essence. So yeah, there's positives to be taken with that, and I think maybe just with the new 10 coming back, Harrison James has been out a long time. He had ligament.
Yeah, I think he had an injury, but equally he's contracted to Cardiff Blues. So I think I'm not really sure on the politics of all playing here and there, but no, he's been a good asset to have back into the squad. And yeah, he is just a really good, incredible player. To be honest, there's not much more you can say.
That was the game there, and that takes them on to 21 points. Nottingham got 2 losing bonus points.
So same points, joint 8th. I'm not sure how it works with point difference. I guess Nottingham would slightly edge it over us, but we play them away next week, so that's going to be one of the most important games of the season. It's one of the last games for some boys as well, and it's going to be a real rocket of a game, to be honest.
It's going to be a real dogged fight. Those two sides, you want for personal pride, professional pride, to finish as high as you possibly can.
No, exactly.
So with those two sort of neck and neck, you're going to see a real game up there. And
as well with Swansea breathing down both sides' necks, it is, like you say, it's going to be a really dogged fight, and one, it's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to be who wants it more, not necessarily who's got the better side or the heavier pack or whatever. It's just going to be who wants it more, I think. And I know our boys really want it, so they've got to go out and prove themselves, really.
Yeah, that's it. And 6 points away, there's the gap 6 points between Swansea, as you say, in bottom place, and Nottingham and Cardiff. So you'd imagine that they're safe, given Swansea's form. They haven't won a game in quite a wee while, but obviously you still want to win those games, and then they've got Bath at home. How do you think personally that they'll finish this season? With those 2 games coming up, I think they're 2 reasonably winnable games, you would say, given the improvement in form.
Yeah, Nottingham definitely easier so than Bath, but equally you've got home advantages, away advantages into that, so it could still go either way. But I think Nottingham will be the one where the boys will travel up and go, right, this is the one we have to win, and then because it'll take the pressure off for the last game if they go and win against Nottingham. They'll still be in the league next year. They'll probably still have a playoff place potentially. So it'll really take the pressure off against Bath. And Bath are a team who can show up and be incredible, or they can show up and be a little bit under mediocre. So, it's not worth taking the risk of waiting for the Bath game and see how, and that be the decider. Win against Nottingham, get 5 points, or even 4.
I think 4 points would do it.
4 would do it, exactly. So, but just go there, get a win, take the pressure off, and then you can start again from next season and as well start preparing for varsity.
Absolutely. Well, that's a huge game for them, and as you say, a couple of winnable games which will give them momentum going into that. So yeah, that brings us on to the women's game. I was there. 52-12 loss to Exeter. Exeter a really, really, really strong side. Yeah. The amount of coaching staff they have there, and just that you can tell they're very, very, very solid side. What do you think about the women's season? I think Durham beat Edinburgh on Wednesday, so that
was quite a close affair as well.
That was a close one, and that leaves them bottom of that league. But that's the first season in the league. I personally thought, looking at that game, the first half it wasn't great. We were really penned back by Exeter. The second half was incredibly admirable performance. Some really great attacking plays. Really stuck it to Exeter. Actually scored a couple of lovely tries. Zoe Dare was great as captain, and I thought it was a decent performance. How would you assess their first season in the WNL?
I think when you look at it on face value, you'd see it as maybe a disappointing season or quite unfortunate. But I think, like you say, you've got to remember that this is their first season in the WNL, so it was always going to be a bit of an Everest, a bit of an uphill battle for the whole season. And credit to the girls, they've really fought well. They've, I think, 1 or 2 victories this season, which again against teams who have been in this league for a while, have almost set it up and have been fighting at a top level like this for far longer than Cardiff have. It's admirable, as you say, but you've got to start somewhere, and so finishing bottom, there's no further down, further worse you can get. It's all only up from here, and I think come next year, hopefully there'll be a bit more recruitment going into it, a bit more investment going into the women's game, and hopefully that 1 or 2 victories can become 3 or 4, and even a place further up the table. So I think this is just, like I say, this is the platform for the women, and it can only go up from here. So
I was speaking to Zoe, the captain, and Owen Smith, their coach, after the game, and they were both sort of reiterating a lot of the points that you were saying there. In terms of it was their first season in the league. It's been a tough season, but they've showed a lot of mettle. They've showed a lot of guile, a lot of determination, and as you can see, I mean, they do play some really nice rugby.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're focused on a sort of an offloading game, I've been told. And it's really nice, and if you're a good side to watch, more and more people are going to come and watch you play, and it's great that the women's game it's growing in Cardiff, and that we're in the top league now, and that we're developing as a side. To say. That was our sorry, just to finish on the women's team before we move on to our Six Nations round 3 review. In terms of they're in the next round of the Welsh Cup. And they've got varsity coming up. How do you sort of see those games going? Swansea's not in the same league, but
no, I think for varsity it'll be another convincing victory. As you say, there's a league difference, so the quality is clear to see. The quality difference is clear. So I think in varsity it'll be like I say, it'll be convincing, and I'm sure the girls will absolutely smash it and do everyone proud. But Who's their game against in the?
I didn't catch it actually. You caught me out there, but it's the Welsh Cup, I believe, and so they've got a couple of games left, sort of, as you can say, experiment and look forward to next season. And it's just everything seems optimistic on there. You know,
I think
it's hard not to be really in their first season.
No, absolutely. And I mean, as I say, like for the women, it can only get better for them, and so. Yeah, they shouldn't be disheartened by this season at all, and I think 2 more games to still prove them to themselves and to everybody else that they deserve to be in that league and they're not just there to make up the numbers kind of thing. But no, only going to be positive from here on out for them.
Absolutely. Well, that was our CURFC catch-up with both men's and women's team. Men have 2 games left to go, and 3 if you could include Varsity, and women's have 2 games to go. So watch out for that. Come down to Llanrumney, come see them, and they're all performing well at this time of the year, which is great to see.